In this video, we're exposing why truck gun prices are about to explode. The 5 truck guns you need to buy before 2027. Steel tariffs are hiking build costs, and a massive tax change just flooded the market with buyers. Wait too long and it could cost you more. Stay until the end. We'll reveal the one climbing fastest. Number 5. Mossberg 500-590. Number 5 on this list is the gun already sitting behind more truck seats than any other option in America. And it is already climbing in price while most owners are not paying attention. The Mossberg 500 and its tougher cousin, the Mossberg 590, have been the default truck and ranch shotgun for decades. A new Mossberg 500 now sells for an average of $494, up almost $65 in the past year alone. The heavier 590 now averages just over $600, up more than $40 in the same stretch. That works out to close to a 15% jump on the entry-level gun and roughly an 8% jump on the field-tested workhorse, both in a single year. The reason most buyers miss this is simple. A pump shotgun feels like a fixed-price item, the kind of tool you assume costs the same today as it did 5 years ago. It does not. Steel now carries a 50% tariff on many imported components. And while Mossberg forges its receivers from aluminum, it builds its heavy-walled barrels, bolts, and magazine tubes from steel that has gotten more expensive to source and machine, even when the final assembly happens on American soil. What makes the 500 and 590 worth watching is not just the price, it is what you get for it. The synthetic stock shrugs off mud, snow, and summer heat inside a hot cab without warping or cracking. The pump action does not care about lubricant freezing or dirt getting into a gas system, because there is no gas system to clog in the first place. Mossberg builds dedicated just-in-case models, sized and finished specifically for vehicle or boat storage, including a Mariner version with a corrosion-resistant coating built for owners who deal with salt air or standing water. The company also backs these shotguns with a lifetime warranty, which tells you how confident they are in the design, holding up to years of rough handling. Compare this to the pandemic buying spike of 2020, when panic over gun control fears and supply shortages pushed shotgun prices up by huge margins almost overnight. What is happening now is slower, but it is steady, and steady increases driven by fixed costs like steel tariffs do not reverse the way panic pricing eventually does. For weather resistance, size, and blunt reliability, nothing on this list beats it dollar for dollar right now. But that dollar figure will not stay this low for long. Retail data from 2025 showed store inventory sitting roughly a third higher than pre-pandemic levels, which is exactly why dealers spent last year discounting heavily just to move stock off the shelf. That inventory cushion is shrinking fast in 2026, and once it runs out, the steel tariff costs that manufacturers have been quietly absorbing on thinner margins gets passed straight to the customer at the counter. Number 4. Ruger PC Carbine. That brings us to a very different kind of truck gun. One built for people who want their vehicle gun and their sidearm to share the same ammunition and the same magazines. The Ruger PC Carbine takes standard 9mm rounds, and depending on which magwell is installed, can run Ruger Security 9 magazines or Glock magazines. That means a driver who carries a Glock pistol can load one type of ammunition into both guns and even swap magazines between them in a pinch, which cuts down on confusion during a stressful moment when seconds matter. A new PC Carbine now averages $651, up about $26 over the past year, and the specific 9mm configuration has climbed even faster, averaging $665, up over $52 in 12 months. That is close to an 8.5% increase on a gun many buyers still think of as the budget option in the pistol caliber carbine world. especially when compared against competitors like the Smith & Wesson FPC or the Kel-Tec Sub 2000, which occupy a similar price bracket and are facing the same upward cost pressure. The carbine's biggest advantage for truck storage is its takedown design. Lock the bolt back, confirm the chamber is empty, push a recessed lever, twist the barrel assembly free from the receiver, and the whole rifle folds down small enough to fit in a soft bag behind a seat or inside a truck vault under the back row. The bolt is machined from heat-treated chrome moly steel, and every steel part receives a black nitride coating meant to resist rust from humidity, road salt, and everyday grime. A built-in tungsten dead blow weight inside the bolt also cuts down on felt recoil and muzzle rise, which matters if you need fast, accurate follow-up shots after being jolted out of a resting position. Buyers overlook this gun's price creep because pistol caliber carbines have a reputation as the cheap, simple option in the gun world, a step below a full AR-15 in both cost and complexity. That reputation is starting to cost people money, because the same steel tariffs driving up shotgun prices are working through this platform too. Just a little slower and a little quieter. A rancher or contractor who keeps a Glock on their hip and a takedown PC carbine broken down in a backpack behind the seat has a real tested defensive setup that fits in a space smaller than most tool bags. And that kind of practical setup is exactly what is pushing demand for this carbine higher every quarter. Number 3. Compact AR-15 Pistol. Short barrel rifle. Speaking of platforms getting squeezed from more than one direction at once, the compact AR-15 pistol and short barrel rifle category is where the pressure is building the fastest of anything on this entire list. Palmetto State Armory, one of the largest volume AR builders in the country and a brand most buyers associate with rock-bottom prices, has seen its average new rifle price climb to $522, up $123 in a single year. That is close to a 30% increase on a platform built specifically to be the affordable entry point into the AR world. Even PSA's entry-level carbine, the kind with basic sights and a simple stock, now carries an $800 suggested retail price before any sale discount gets applied. Part of this comes directly from the aluminum tariff. Most AR receivers are forged from 7075 aluminum, and under the current tariff structure, derivative articles made substantially from aluminum carry a 25% duty, while raw aluminum stock itself can be taxed at 50% depending on how it enters the country. But tariffs are only half of what is driving this one. On January 1, 2026, the federal tax stamp on short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, suppressors, and other regulated items dropped from $200 to $0 under a reconciliation bill the president signed the previous July. That change did not remove the paperwork or the background check. Buyers still submit the same forms and wait for approval. But it erased the single biggest financial barrier that used to push cautious buyers toward brace-equipped AR pistols instead of true short-barrel rifles. Now a wave of buyers who spent years avoiding the tax stamp are filing paperwork for real short-barrel rifles for the first time. And manufacturers are already warning about longer approval times and thinner shelf inventory as the backlog builds. That surge in demand pulls directly from the same pool of forged receivers, barrels, and small parts that budget AR pistols are built from. And when demand rises at the same time tariffs are raising the cost of raw material, the price only moves in one direction. For a truck gun buyer, this platform still offers real advantages. A compact folding or collapsing profile that tucks behind a seat, mil-spec parts proven across decades of hard military and civilian use, and enough rail space to mount a light for checking on a fence line, a flat tire, or livestock in the dark. Those advantages are becoming more expensive by the month, and the gap between what this platform cost a year ago and what it costs today keeps growing. The ATF itself paused new short-barrel rifle paperwork at the very end of December 2025, just to prepare its systems for the switch to a $0 tax, then reopened submissions on January 1st, and processing centers have been playing catch-up ever since. Every week that backlog grows is another week of buyers deciding to lock in a purchase now, rather than risk paying more once dealer shelves thin out further. Number 2. Glock 19 class pistol. The rifle side of your truck kit is getting more expensive. The sidearm side is not far behind it, and the reason is one most owners never stop to think about. Glock pistols assembled at the company's factory in Smyrna, Georgia still rely on small parts shipped in from Austria, and those parts are subject to the current European Union import tariff, which has moved between 15 and 20% depending on the point in the ongoing trade negotiations. Owners have already documented the difference, showing up on Glock's own parts catalog. Factory night sights that used to sell for $67 now run $89.44, an increase of roughly 33%. A basic Gen 4 recoil spring that cost $12 now costs $15.84, an increase of about 32%. Those are small parts, only a few dollars each on their own, but they are a preview of where finished pistol pricing is headed, because the same import costs apply to slides, barrels, and internal components before final assembly ever happens on American soil. This matters for a truck gun kit, because a full-size or compact striker-fired pistol in the Glock 19 class is usually the backup plan. The gun a driver keeps close when the rifle or shotgun stored in the back is not fast enough to reach in the first few seconds of a bad situation. It earns that role through decades of testing across law enforcement and military use worldwide, a simple striker-fired system with very few parts that can fail under stress, and a polymer frame that resists corrosion far better than an all-steel handgun left sitting in a hot or humid vehicle for months at a time. Buyers assume that because final assembly happens in the United States, the finished price is fully protected from these tariffs. The parts pricing already proves that assumption wrong, and industry watchers expect it is only a matter of time before the increases show up on the sticker price of a complete boxed pistol rather than just the individual replacement parts. Buyers looking for a way around this exposure sometimes point to fully domestic brands as an alternative. But even those companies are not immune, since they still compete for the same tariffed steel billet and aluminum stock used to machine slides and frames. A driver who gets a flat tire on a dark stretch of back road, or who has to check on a barn after hearing something move outside at night, wants that pistol on their hip to work exactly the same way every single time. And that dependability is precisely why this class of handgun stays in high demand no matter what the price tag says. Number 1. Marlin 336 lever action. That brings us to the truck gun climbing in price faster than anything else on this list. The one with the clearest, most documented reason to buy now instead of waiting until 2027. The Marlin 336 lever action rifle, chambered in .30-30 Winchester, has been a ranch and truck staple for more than 70 years. Trusted by generations of hunters and outdoorsmen long before anyone used the term truck gun. When Sturm, Ruger and Company took over Marlin production after the brand changed hands following Remington's bankruptcy, quality on these rifles went up noticeably, but so did the price, and it did not go up by a small margin. A new Ruger-built Marlin 336 now carries a suggested retail price around $1,100, with real-world retail pricing starting closer to $1,200 once it reaches a dealer's shelf. Compare that to the Remington-era version of the same rifle, often nicknamed the Remlin by collectors, which regularly sold in the $600 to $700 range even just a few years ago, and you are looking at a price that has nearly doubled for what is fundamentally the same lever action design first introduced in 1948. This is not a case of a company padding margins for no reason. Ruger has publicly told retailers that demand for its Marlin lever guns has outpaced what the company can currently produce, and it has specifically warned everyday customers not to leave deposits with dealers who do not already have confirmed shipments coming. That is not marketing language. That is a manufacturer openly admitting it cannot build these fast enough to meet demand, following the exact same pattern that played out when Ruger shipped its very first Marlin-made rifle, the 1895 SBL, and told dealers the same thing about limited quantities back then. Since that first shipment, Ruger has steadily rolled out the 336 Classic, the 1895 Trapper, and a reintroduced 1894 Classic, and each release has followed the identical script. Strong initial demand followed by dealers waiting weeks or months for restocks. For a truck gun, the 336 offers something almost nothing else on this list can match. There is no gas system to clean, no polymer parts that can turn brittle in extreme cold, and no detachable magazine to lose in the woods or leave behind at a gas station. Just a solid steel receiver and a mechanical lever action that has worked the same reliable way since before World War II. Shorter, trapper-style versions with reduced barrel length tuck easily behind a truck seat or into a console-mounted case. The 3030 cartridge is sold at nearly every hardware store and gas station gun counter across rural America. And the rifle carries more than enough stopping power for deer-sized game or a close-range defensive situation on a ranch or back road. Every factor pushing prices up everywhere else on this list, steel tariffs, rising demand tied to the tax stamp change, and limited manufacturing capacity, is hitting this one rifle at the same time, which is exactly why it climbed the fastest of the five and why it earns the top spot on this countdown. 5 different truck guns. 5 different reasons the price on your next purchase keeps climbing before this year is even over. Steel and aluminum tariffs are adding real, documented costs to every receiver, barrel, and steel part built here at home, even on firearms assembled entirely in the United States. A tax change that dropped the short barrel rifle stamp from $200 to $0 has thousands of buyers now competing for the same limited factory inventory. Ammunition costs are climbing right alongside the guns themselves, adding another layer of expense to owning any one of these platforms. And in the case of the Marlin 336, a manufacturer is telling retailers and customers directly in writing that it cannot keep up with the orders already on the books. None of these 5 guns, the Mossberg 500 and 590, the Ruger PC Carbine, the compact AR-15 platform, the Glock 19 class pistol, or the Marlin 336, are going to get cheaper before 2027. Some of the reduced tariff rates covering metal-intensive equipment are already scheduled to expire that same year, which means the pressure driving these prices up is not temporary background noise. It has a deadline attached to it. Every one of these 5 has already moved, some by a few percentage points, one by nearly double, but all of them in the same direction. If one of them has been sitting on your list, the numbers say the time to buy it is now, not later. Because the truck gun prices about to explode are not a rumor, they are already showing up on the receipt.